gambling, drinking, smoke.
Somebody coming from Las Vegas. They are on Cook Street.
Yeah, that was you.
Nothing feels more naked than playing a violin by itself.
Yeah, really.
Very few things are more naked. You might as well be scared.
Well, hello everyone. We still are expecting a few people, including one of my guests, who's coming in from Las Vegas, and I think somehow he actually went back to Las Vegas. No, he's on Cook Street, I understand. He's on Cook Street. So we also learned tonight that when you Google the Buzz Cafe, Buzz Coffee House, that it comes up on that side of the street. So we had a few people pass by here about 19 times, so that's what the deal is. But we're going to get going anyway because I've got a special guest here that I'm anxious to have him read for us, and if we wait too much longer we're going to lose him because he's got another engagement he's got to go to. So we'll just get started, and we'll take it from there. Thanks for being so patient. Anyway, this is great to be back here again. I love this place. It's adorable, and I'm getting ready to do a short poetry tour in LA, and I've been kind of coming here to the open mic sessions and having a lot of fun, meeting some terrific people, and Sandy and everybody at the Buzz has been so great. It's got such a Greenwich Village vibe to it, or as I call it, an anti-Starbucks vibe, which is even more appealing. I do want to acknowledge a couple of people here briefly. Over here hiding in the corner is, some of you already know him, I'm sure, HERB Jeffries, the famous HERB Jeffries. Guy's made more movies and more albums, and from Cowboys to Duke Ellington, I can't keep up with him. and didn't you just recently have a birthday?
Huh?
Didn't you just recently have a birthday?
Yeah.
And you are now?
No, I'll have that on the 24th. My vintage, not my age.
Your vintage, I remember.
My vintage will be 96.
Anybody can do it. And Herb is who hosts the open mics every month, so it's just been a real terrific pleasure getting to meet him. Anyway, my first guest tonight grew up in the business that we all like to call show. He's the son of Hollywood legend Harpo Marx. He's an accomplished pianist, a songwriter, a composer, an entertainer, and a wonderful humorist. I got to meet him here coming to a couple of the open mics, and I just fell in love with his personality. Having studied at Juilliard, he learned just as much about music watching his own father play his famous harp. Some of you may remember that great scene on The Lucy Show with Harpo on the harp. And wasn't it Take Me Out to the Ball Game, Bill? That's what I thought. Right. A regular on LA's Sunset Strip Club circuit, he also has composed numerous TV and film scores: Fantasy Island, Love Boat, Murphy's Romance, some of you may remember that movie, Who's That Girl, and the indie classic, my favorite, Scream Blackula. That did it for me. In 2007, he published his popular autobiography, The Son of Harpo Speaks. And his mentor, comedian George Burns, once told him, never walk into a room without a good opening line. So I'd like you to meet my opening line, Bill Marx.
Thank you, Joe. Well, as here goes my opening line. Good evening. I want to thank you very much, Chip, for your giant leap of faith in having me close this show for you this evening. I know you have such great confidence in me. I've been here before, and I've had the privilege of understanding a little bit more what poetry is all about. This evening's venture for me will be somewhat different in that I'm going to speak about a person and people that are lyricists. They're not necessarily poets, but they're lyricists, and they have the same love for the word and for the rhyme. And in this particular case, I'm going to start this offering with a gentleman who is remarkably famous, if for no other reason that he's one of the few people in the world that has the name Yip. His name is Yip Harburg, and the way we mostly know about Yip Harburg's first name, Yip, is when we miss a 4-foot putt. Down here, we call it the yips, isn't that right, Pete? And Yip Harburg, it was a remarkably gifted man who gave lyrics to such marvelous classics such as Finian's Rainbow and The Wizard of Oz, and At the Circus with the Marx Brothers. And so I would like to offer you this by asking you first, how many of you in the audience think that you're irreverent? Well, come on now. There's only 2 people in a Greenwich Village coffee house? How many of you people in the audience think that other people think that you're irreverent? That's a little bit better. How many of you people in the audience think that you are both of those things? Okay, I love you. You're so wide open. We'll have the shrinkies out in the back when we're through. Anyway, I'm going to read from a remarkable document called Rhymes for the Irreverent. I've done some of them before, but I'm going to whisk through these things pretty swiftly. The first part is going to be kind of about peripheral religion, if you will. Yip Harburg's Rhymes for the Irreverent. I don't know how the world began or where it got its name from. But if you don't like it here, why don't you go back where you came from? God made the world in 6 days flat. On the 7th, he says, I'll rest. So he let the thing into orbit swing to give it a dry run test. 1 billion years later, then he took a look at the whirling blob. His spirits fell. He shrugged. Oh, well, it was only a 6-day job. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. And only God who makes the tree also makes the fools like me. But only fools like me, you see, can make a God who makes a tree. And no matter how much I probe and prod, I cannot quite believe in God. But oh, I hope to God that He unswervingly believes in me. A little secret sinning now and then should not disturb the saintliest of men. For when your life is spent and the sun has set, 'tis easier to repent than to regret. When lightning's... Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I didn't write that. When lightning struck the steeple of the Church of San Jose, it barely missed the brothel that was just across the way. When Bishop Patrick crossed the street, as X now marks the spot, the light of God was with him, but the traffic light was not. In '29, when the banks went bust, our coins still read "In God We Trust." Why fret about a little scandal? Go to church and light a candle. If you're a church philanthropist and you're wholly indestructible, although you live by fang and fist, your sins are tax deductible. And when you go to heaven, you avoid eternal and external and eternal revenue. Now, we move on to the concept of life itself for us regular kind of people. When I was planned and spawned and hatched, my heart and mind were badly matched. My heart wants roots, my mind wants wings. I cannot bear their bickerings. Oh Lord, who wrought this schizoid mess? Did you forget togetherness? Must I now pray and pay an analyst, excuse me, to search them how to coexist? With little drops of fallout and data of radiation, will it finally unite us all in the ignited nations? I mean, this stuff is still happening, isn't it? When nuclear dust has extinguished their betters, will the turtles surviving wear people neck sweaters? You're paid to stop the bullet. It's a soldier's job, they say. And so you stop the bullet, and then they stop your pay.
Yeah.
We learn this about every war, that life is not worth dying for. The influence of affluence makes this land where fester all the glutinous diseases that are fostered by cholesterol. These coronary carriers evade the pampered foreigners. Prosperity, it seems to me, is just around the corner. The elegance of funerals, what chic and what decor. People now are dying as they never lived before. Mozart died a pauper, Heine lived in dread, Foster died in Bellevue, Homer begged for bread. Genius pays off handsomely after you are dead. How many of you are geniuses there in the audience? I love retrospectives. They don't happen until you go. And then they dream all this stuff up about you, half of it which is not true and half of it which is true. The problem that which is true is not good, and the part is that is not true is not good. Anyway, here we go. When you are dead, no need to moan, nothing all to moan at. Think of yourself as just a stone, and whom you would like to be thrown at.
Jeez.
I'm really not hypochondriacal, though the fear of a seizure cardiacal makes me jump and tense and maniacal with each inhalation of breath. I'm not really hypochondriacal, I'm merely allergic to death. And I now wish to speak of love very briefly. In the spring, a young man's fancy turns to thoughts of love. And in summer, and in autumn, and in winter, see above.
That's cute.
I love this. Do a thing here. It might help. My glasses are too close to my eyes. My heart is like a willow that bends but never breaks. It sighs when summer jilts her. It sings when April wakes. So you who come a-smiling with summer in your eyes, think not that your beguiling will take me by surprise. My heart's prepared for aching the moment you take wing, but not, my friend, for breaking while there's another spring. So we should share my summer pillow. Don't spare my autumn's aches. My heart is like a willow that bends but never breaks. You've nothing to fear from love if you're smart. Just play it by ear and never by heart. One day we will be oh so ecstatic. Our nights will be oh so exotic. For I'm a neurotic erratic, and you're an erratic erotic. I leave you with these two profound moments. Oh, innocent victims of Cupid, remember this terse little verse. To let a fool kiss you is stupid. To let a kiss fool you is worse. And if you're looking out there for role models, no matter how high or great the throne, what sits on it is the same as your own. And I must say my favorite of perhaps of all of Yip's little yippies here is, and this is very much how Mr. Herb Jeffries feels about the spirituality of man. I leave you with this. The world would be a safer place if someone had a plan before exploring outer space to find the inner man. Moving along very quickly, just a few more things. This is a lyricist by the name of Bert Kalmer, who wrote something which I think is rather apropos in a lot of areas in today's society and all of it. And it was done by Groucho in a show called Horse Feathers, a movie in 1933. And I'm just giving you enough of it for you to become very, very sober about what's happening today. I don't know what they have to say. It makes no difference anyway. Whatever it is, I'm against it. No matter what it is or who commenced it, I'm against it. Your proposition may be good, but let's have one thing understood. Whatever it is, I'm against it. And even when you change it and condense it, I'm against it. I'm opposed to it. on general principles. I'm opposed to it. When months before my son was born, I used to yell from night to morn, whatever it is, I'm against it. And I've been yelling since I first commenced it. I'm against it. I'm opposed to it on general principles. You know why? I'm against it. There you go. I was going to maybe I've got 2 more minutes here, and I can finish up with. I had the privilege of writing the afterword to the re-release of my dad's book called Harpo Speaks, and in it I spoke of a time when I was young and how Dad was always able to solve problems for me, and for the other 2 brothers and a sister that accompanied us through his life and his orbit, so to speak. And at one time I was asked to write a poem. That was my homework, and I was in the 3rd, 4th grade. And what's with poems? And I was laboring over this whole thing. We were having dinner. Dad said, "What's the matter?" And I said, I had to write a poem. I don't have to write a poem for school. And Dad says, "Just a second." And by the time we had had salad, he says, "I've got your poem for you tomorrow." Here it goes. There they go. I'm betting on Flo. If she loses, I'll blow my dough. Into the stretch, she's out in front, at the wire, when I dunked. I got a B+ for that. And I now wish to leave you with a poem that my mother wrote also in that afterword of Harpo Speaks. I leave you with this, folks. This is my mother's ode to my dad. I sing a song of joyous praise of one who labored in the garden of laughter, a quiet man who sensed the absurd in all he saw and all he heard. Untutored by textbooks, he learned in the street. Survival was foremost. To steal was to eat. From whence came the gifts of musical taste, the sense of beauty, the gentle grace? The gods safeguarded them through the years until he was ready. I'm glad we were there. And I'm glad you were here, and I'm glad I've been here. And I want to thank you very much. Thank you, Chip.
That's the craziest thing I ever heard.
You mind if I write back my introduction?
Say the secret white. And anyway, thank you so much, Bill. That was just terrific, man. I really appreciate you being here. Another hand for Bill, please. Here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Actors, all of us. Demented children mincing about. Performing in clothes no one ever wore before, speaking words that no one ever spoke. Swearing up and down about love and hate, sporting an occasional wig, using rhymed couplets, and killing each other with wooden guns, and hollow protests of actions, lacking faith, yet painting visions with very grand gestures. Every pose, every thought, we are vanishing, it seems, into thin air, unpopulated desert air. We ransom our dignity to the rare cloud, while coyotes and snakes listen carefully. Don't you see us? Can't you feel us? We're all actors, the very opposite of people. We pledged our identities, we sold our fantasies, we peeked behind the curtain of Oz. Yet secure in the conventions of our trade, we only hope someone is watching. We're always hoping. Thank you. Well, my next guest has arrived via Las Vegas, via Indio, via La Quinta. Actually, we're going to go the other extreme. And I thought this might be a real treat for some of you because you may not be exposed necessarily to this kind of music and art. But I met this gentleman a while back, about 10 years ago. I did a music video for an artist, and he cameoed in the video. And I think he stole the video. I remembered him, he remembered me, and when it was time for him to do his solo video about a year ago, he called me up, I directed it, and it's now running all over YouTube, and it's a great little hit, and he's a wonderful lyricist. And I'll tell you a little bit about him. A recording artist, a music producer, and a very popular hip-hop urban poet. He'll mesmerize you with his intense style, his rhythmic flows, and his socially conscious lyrics. He opposes drugs, material worship, sex abuse, and music sampling, so synonymous in the rap music industry today. Praised for his production skills, he has worked with Ice Cube, Exhibit, Sir Jinx, and the late, great Gerald Levert. I had an opportunity to direct, as I told you, 2 music videos with this artist, and it was quite a pleasure working with him. His newest CD, The Many Faces, has just been released. It's a soul-stirring hip-hop journey with an inspiring message for a changing world. So I want you to please give a warm welcome to my friend and my brother from another mother, Mad KD.
I was going to read a little bit of what he just had on in the book right there, but you know. I think how y'all doing? All right. I'm going to do something called We the People. Okay? What you ought to do is take that fool about the car, bring him over, lay him down and check his pockets. Who sent you? Better yet, where you from, homie? You take the 35 mil, let's take his picture. I'm tired of y'all, I'm trying to get your hands about my pockets. To any which one of y'all that needs to try to listen. I'm tired of y'all chilling, trying to live up in my house. Get up off my cousin, cause it's time to pay the rent. Let the ones live, let us go and run this place. Let us live up not to be the fools of temptation. I never had a problem with a fool I had to cut. We demand justice for those in New Orleans. Remembering the day in which we talked of Patti Hearst? Decisive in your eyes can mean 2 up in the bush. Final destination in the hood is like a single. Just like the Declaration says, we the people. Yeah, what's going on, homie? And what you sipping on? Ain't living up in my house, so best believe I'm finna check it. It's 38 days we celebrate Black History Month. 337 days of no reminders. Stressing when the Arabian is living here among us. Been selling malt liquor to your underage children. Used to have an understanding with them in the 50s. Been going downhill since the killing of Sadat. Can't stop the flow of drugs that's been polluting my community. Can't stop illegal aliens that's coming up in this country. Learn to fly your planes and you claim you didn't know it. Been having the technology and yet you playing the game. Mad cause that man went out and got his thing sucked. Yet we stand around and let our kids go off the water. Hated by the world because we represent your freedom. Just like the Declaration says, we the people. What happened to control of our goods upon the docks? There's enough of us to recreate the weathermen. All that I know, I'm sick and tired of being picked on. The land of milk and honey, and yet we still can't feed the homeless. Still we haven't figured out who killed Nicole Simpson. Or Dr. Martin Luther King. Or Jam Master Jay. Peace is never still up in a home that's not correct. So there's another revolution coming. You can bet. How are we saving the children with $1 when they're dying? They chased away Michael Jackson, the only one that was trying. Yet still, what the bishop did, we must forgive. But Tookie loved the kids, but they wouldn't have let him live. They always take away from us those of our champions. To speak of wasn't did or wasn't done for Fred Hampton. Can't let it slide. Yet in life, there's a sequel. That's right, the revolution lives. We the people. Thank you. Well, that's about all I have for tonight. Getting ready to go back and do this 300-mile back to Vegas. Get me a drink or two. And hope to see y'all a little later before I leave. You know what I'm saying? Thank y'all once again.
By the way, I should let you know that the song "We the People" is actually been already set to be in an upcoming movie in October called Bamboozled from Lionsgate Films. So he's going to be a very important role in the film. Anyway, thank you so much for that. Since we're running a little off schedule, we were going to actually do a little break right here now, but I'll just read a few and then maybe we'll take a little break, and then I'm going to introduce a couple of fun people here that are going to let you hear poetry like you've never heard it before. This is called The Well. In searching for the poem that would bind me to you and to the world, I went deeper and deeper and deeper within, until I lay down on my back at the bottom of a well, and all the poems became cans of tin. If a man could wear his angers around his neck, that ugly jewelry clinking, he'd string it with teeth, strong chewers of meat and muckluck, teeth that twist off bottle tops, shark and tiger teeth, or sets of chattering false ones. When the man would walk, he'd walk with a terrible loudness. He'd ask the dentist to fill each tooth with a tiny silver microphone, and then his sensitive necklace would pick up all the sounds inside of his head. Great cyclones of breath and musical notes slide across his eyes like continents. And still, the man thinks he might scare himself with all the noise he'd make. So perhaps something quieter, a blizzard inside of a glass paperweight, that would offend no one. But facing you when he is angriest, he wouldn't need to articulate or even move an inch. He would just sit there, wearing his necklace around his throat, a string of covered wagons waiting for you to attack. That's called Awkward Silence. It's a new poem I just wrote. I went out, I got mugged. I resisted. I got stabbed. After I got better, I went out. I got mugged. I didn't get better. And I didn't resist. I got stabbed. After I got better, I didn't go out. I got burglarized. So I went back out. Who the hell wants people like that in your house? Somebody is always looking at your body. Remember that. Even now as I read this poem, somebody is looking at you, trying to take note of the length of your waist or the style of your taste, trying to see up your dress, down your pants. Nothing is ever privately pure or truly healthy and happy, not to mention adjusted. Life requires an abandonment of that particular perception and further development of less sensuous forms of paranoia incapable of political opinion. Remember this, somebody is always looking at your body. Even inanimate objects are watching. And it's there in the no motion that gives you the feeling of me watching you watching me, and of me watching you watching. Oh, thank you so much. A man walks in on his wife in bed with his best friend. Shocked, he says, "Frank, I have to, but you?" This is actually a poem I wrote a long time ago, and I just found it recently. I used to tour with Allen Ginsberg and Lawrence Ferlinghetti back in the day. I was from Paterson, New Jersey, and they're from Paterson, New Jersey, so I got to tour with them for about a year. I was like the little punk with the beats, and it was just an extraordinary experience. So I sort of dug this up because I was unemployed at the time. I didn't have a job. I had just gotten back from Vietnam, and I needed a job. So I was on tour with Allen Ginsberg, making about $1.98, but having a lot of prestige. And so this kind of expresses my feelings for that moment. So I'm not going to read too many old pieces, but this one kind of I got a kick out of, especially with all the unemployment today. That delicate bird who flies up all your asses is now flying up mine, and with no express invitation. That delicate bird who likes to be lean and hungry is making me sweat, giving me delusions. I need a job that I will waste away unless I eat that delicate bird. But then my family will remember me only as a poor provider. That delicate bird means to straighten my ass out. The bird, in favor of fathers and sons, crops up insidiously each morn. Once I could be lazy, but now that damn bird turns up everywhere I sit each day of the friggin' week. I have a feeling of that delicate bird higher within me. Once I declined all burdens and jumped to be responsible for ones I didn't have yet. I can tell you that that delicate bird means to stay with me forever. So please, hire me. I have another mouth to feed. O sensuous journey of the young American widow, as you moved from the atrophy of civilization to the apathy of gluttony, all because you wanted everything. The world is changing. It has become impatient. Thus, a man stands in front of his microwave oven yelling, "Hurry up, damn it!" Scrawled on a subway station, the words Jean-Paul Sartre was an underwriter. Sorry about that. I'll start again. Scrawled on a subway station wall, the words Jean-Paul Sartre was an underwriter. Where history sits on a bench by herself, her purse full of famous names, her heart holding the pain of broken dreams, she stops staring down that dark tunnel. The future is nothing and it all looks the same. Just fuel for the flame. Yet here comes the train of possibilities. Faith hangs round the fluorescent light. He drinks cheap wine, he's lost his mind. His hair is long, gray, and twisted, but he greets everyone their wishes. We all have our fingers in the river, altering its winding course 100 miles on. But then comes glory, and then comes grace. Fullness of a life like laughter on a face. A vision of God held in our hearts. Each creature like a cell is whole in part. A lightning rider, steeping from star to star. God's perfect weather is full of hurricanes. Lots of sunshine, lots of rain. We break it down because we are human. There's no shame, no blame. But here comes the train of possibilities. Thank you. Thank you very much. This isn't a poem, really. I just made this observation. I was watching, I know you all watch TV, obviously, at some point or another, but I don't watch network television. I despise it. I have to watch cable movies, although I cannot stand commercials and stuff, because I used to work in the ad business. But the other day, this movie, World Trade Center, was on with Nicolas Cage, who's kind of a good friend. And I just I couldn't turn it off. It was Nick, so I was going to watch it, even with the commercial interruptions. As the towers fell, suddenly from the corner of my screen on the bottom frame, these 5 gay guys walked out and went like this. Project Runway up next. I mean, it was Do you guys see that with those the little guys? Oh, Jesus Christ, they ought to hang that guy by the groin. Whoever came up with that idea. That's as bad as the guy that does that little insert in the newspaper. You buy the newspaper and it's got that half ad that you pull out. Do you ever see that? Yeah, it's right on usually the front page. It's like got a half ad and it drives me crazy. Anyway, how to get that out of my system. It was a wooden box that I once lived in. How very odd, because I knew that someone else was trying without the intervention of God. I let in no light of any sun, of any moon, because I knew that someone else was dying without the intervention of God. I shut my eyes and held my ears. How very odd, because I saw that someone else was lying without the intervention of God. When I smelled the blood on the torn bodies, I said to a door, rest in your sill. Draw shades on your windows without the intervention of God. And I closed my mind with sleeping pills, murdering myself that night, that I might shut out the murder of others by the hand of man, only with the intervention of God. Grazie. Grazie. It's funny, I had another little note here about the ad business. When I worked in the ad business, I was on Madison Avenue as an art director for years, and I made a lot of money, and I absolutely hated it. It was the most depressing period of my life. And it all came to an end when I was directing this huge national commercial, and I was tying up about 12 New York City blocks with trailers and cranes and equipment and a crew of about 110 people. As I may not have mentioned before, I'm actually a filmmaker. I've been a filmmaker for the last 25 years. So I'm doing this commercial, and I should have been very happy, but instead I was sitting at lunch break on the curb looking at this entire 6 blocks of New York City tied up, traffic being rerouted, people being inconvenienced, and I realized that all of this was for a tampon commercial. It was time to quit. It was time to quit. Time to quit. And also I saw a thing the other day it was a commercial on, and it was for a new gas reliever if you got gas in your stomach, and it's called Asifex. Now I want to know who the hell thought of that name, and did they present it to their boss? It's called Asifex, A-S-C-I-F-E-X, Asifex. Anyway, pretty funny. Okay, we're going to go a little beat here. We're going to kind of go back to the beat days of early Greenwich Village. In fact, I used to go to art school 3 blocks from there, School of Visual Arts. I used to walk by that building every day. There's the subway station I used to come out of, so very cool. Anyway, this is going to be an audience participation thing. What we're going to do is I'm going to say a line, you're going to repeat the line, okay? And then at the end, no clapping. Art is a soup pan. Love is a deodorant. Sex is a toothpaste. Kindness is a mouthwash. Personality is a chewing gum. Sincerity is an air freshener. Clean air is high-octane gasoline. Bravery is a hair gel. Grammar is a cigarette. Love is a feminine hygiene spray. Truth is an enzyme detergent. Neighbors are tiny people living in your toilet. Happiness is an iPod. Good friends are a bank. Creativity is a fucking commercial. The real class struggle is between the happy and the unhappy. The happy never know what they have, and the unhappy exaggerate it. The unhappy may be rich or poor or middle class. The happy are usually middle class, marveling at the shining pleasures of the rich and envying the smoky pleasures of the poor. Those few who are unhappy and have become happy, and those many who are happy and have become unhappy, all know the secrets that they are not permitted to share. So unhappy people who have become happy look sad. And happy people who have become unhappy look happyless. Happiness has no exchange value. Unhappiness is always in circulation. Life continually mints new denominations of unhappiness. The unhappy move through the streets with pockets bulging. The happy are static, like the vein of a gold mother lode. Violence of the happy is relentless. Violence of the unhappy is biting. An annoying mosquito to remind the happy of their unhappiness. But the happy know that to think too much is asking for trouble. Occasionally, an unhappy person in a misunderstood moment produces a painting or creates a poem. When I ask myself whether I am happy or unhappy, I refuse to answer. For I know that only unhappy people ask such questions. A man with a little man growing out of the top of his head enters a doctor's office looking concerned. "How did that happen?" asked the puzzled doctor. The little man replied,
I don't know, Doc, but it started as a mole on my butt.
"Between the man and the woman is part of the man which has been thought to be part of the woman, given to the man to be back to the woman in the time of their mutual commerce. But the window of their lives is described by moonlight on a further wall." These next few pieces are from a book I did a while back called The Wheel, which is then later changed to Loss. It was a book of absurd poems, and I'm going to just do about 4 or 5 and then bring a couple guests up for a few of these. These were kind of inspired by Salvador Dali, who I'm a big fan of as a painter. A couch in a small room has allowed a man to lounge in its shape far too long. A couch has grown tired of the indulgence of the man. A couch thinks the man is like a child, always in need of comforting shapes and smells. So one evening, a couch reared up on its legs and stomped a man to death, again and again and again. It brought down its huge, carved dragon feet on top of the man. A couch is old and gets angry now much too easily. How a big bird is tired of being a big bird. So it shook off all its feathers and placed a leaf over its appropriate place, and now the bird feels like a Greek statue. But the bird is put into a boiling pot when it comes to where men decide things. A man sees a duck floating down the river. Grinning to himself, he picks up a baseball-sized rock and takes aim at the unsuspecting duck. As he pulls his arm back to throw, suddenly a man's hand appears out of nowhere and grabs his arm, stopping the pitch. The man turns to find actor Christopher Walken, glaring deeply into his eyes. "Don't," said Walken. "He might have babies. It's crazy." "Quack," yapped the duck. I don't know if everybody does Christopher Walken impersonation these days. What I finally realized about Christopher Walken is why he's so easy to impersonate, is because he basically, if you listen to everything he says as an actor, and being a scriptwriter, and I've kind of worked with him a little bit in one film, he takes what you write and he inverts it. So if I wrote, "The Buzz is a really cool coffee house," he would say, "Cool coffee house, the Buzz, it's crazy." She's sick, my mother. It's, you know, so he just like, it's weird. But anyway. Okay, anyway. A man had written "head" on his forehead, and "hand" on each hand, and "foot" on each foot. "Stop," his father screamed. "Stop this writing now. The redundancy is like having 2 sons too many." But the man answered, "May I write father on father?" "Yes," said father. because one father is tired of bearing it alone. Mother added, well, I'm leaving if all these people come to dinner. But the man wrote dinner all over dinner. Father asked, will you write belch on my belch? Pausing, the man answered, perhaps I will write God bless everyone on God. Wake up, said a young woman to something else. Something else was her father, who yelled, don't call me something else, damn it. Then it will be something dead for breakfast, said the woman, like my dead daughter, dead inside of herself. Nothing living there, no heart, no soul. No child, shouted the father. That is not true, said the daughter. I am in here trying to live, and I'm trying to love, but I'm just afraid to come out. Well, if you're really in there, said the father, do come out, because we're having a special treat. Dead daughter for breakfast, dead daughter for lunch, dead daughter for dinner. In fact, dead daughter the rest of our lives. At the grocery store, a man decides to purchase a monstrous green vegetable. He asked the grocer to give him something green to kill and eat. But when the man arrived home with his monstrous green vegetable, his wife was horrified. Darling, the grocer has cheated you. This is your son. I would like to bring a couple people up here with me to kind of add to the absurdity. First gentleman, thank you. This multitasking musician has appeared in Chicago, LA, Hawaii, Las Vegas. He's played in the world's finest casinos, old world Italian restaurants, and smoky little cabarets. A violinist, a mandolinist, a keyboard player, a guitarist. He's currently the pianist at the Lavender Bistro in La Quinta. He's also a principal second violin with the Coachella Valley Symphony Orchestra. And I love working with this guy in the recording studio. He did some tracks for us recently on our album because he takes chances and he loves to experiment. Plus, his grandfather actually played in John Philip Sousa's original marching band. Cool? Please welcome to the stage my talented desert friend, Eric Frankson. And joining him, I'm going to have one more guest step up here. This dude is my protege plus. He's just turning 18 recently. This gifted musician extraordinaire is currently in his last year at Copper Mountain College in Joshua Tree. A self-taught phenomena. This guy can play, it seems, any instrument or quickly figure out how to. He recently has been recording also with my rock band, Old Sam Mill, on our album and has contributed a unique and youthful touch to our soon-to-be-released CD. And he, too, takes big chances with his art. I call him an old soul and a young body. Please welcome Janaki. And all the clothes I used to wear in the 60s and 70s, where do you think it goes? I give him stuff sometimes, and it's like, and I put it up to me and I go, Anyway, this first piece, we're going to just have a little fun here. This first piece is called Strange Feats. And we're going to do 3 in a row with my musician friends here. And this first one is kind of a jazz avant-garde kind of a thing. Back in the 80s, I did a piece with Lawrence Ferlinghetti that we had recorded for PBS as a live special, and we had the New York Philharmonic Orchestra back us. I didn't quite have the budget for the Philharmonic Orchestra, so... And this wonderful little instrument you're going to see Janaki playing is like nothing you've ever heard before, but you've heard it in many songs before, like in a lot of David Bowie songs, Space Odyssey, and a couple other pieces. I think Emerson, Lake and Palmer. It's a unique little, tiny little instrument that makes a big sound, kind of like Janaki himself. Anyway, this is called Strange Feats. The world is changing, and it now appears to be as follows. Upon removing his shoes at bedtime one evening, a man observes that the feet inside his socks are not his feet. But quite obviously someone else's. His wife, noting his unusual expression, queries, "Is something wrong, dear?" "No, no. says the man, quickly dousing the light. The man believes that terrible things like finding another person's feet attached to your ankles, even without a seam showing, can only happen to other people. So, as long as he doesn't tell anyone of these strange feet, then the event may yet choose not to happen or to unhappen. By morning, he hopes the alien feet have vanished as mysteriously as they appeared, and that his wonderful, familiar old feet came back where they belong. But next morning finds the strange feet still there. The man quickly telephones a doctor, but the next available appointment is 3 months distant. Upset, the man shouts, "I have an emergency!" But he cannot tell the doctor what the emergency is, for he's certain no one will believe that feet can be switched like umbrellas traded in a restaurant mix-up. The doctor will think him mad, but the man cannot lie and shares his strange dilemma. "Aha!" replies the doctor. "Wrong bloody feet, hey?" "Well, I suppose one chap's feet should do as well as another, wouldn't you say? Now take 2 of these pills every morning and get the hell out of the bloody office. Have a nice holiday, go to the beach, breathe some fresh air, get in a bit of golf, or have a jolly good stroll with your new friends. If you know what I mean, wink, wink, hey?" So the man ponders to himself, rationalizing, perhaps strange feet can be lived with after all. And perhaps his problem is not really as rare as one might think. Maybe there are others just like him. So he'll blog the internet, he'll Google the universe, to hopefully uncover thousands of folks with the wrong feet condition. Maybe there's a club with regular meetings, picnics, social mixers, a monthly singles dance, clothes-free nature hikes, even a group cruise. So the man posts an ad on Craigslist requesting anyone about an accidental mix-up of feet to please contact him ASAP. Within the hour, the man receives 43 obscene letters and an ad for a bootleg DVD action movie smuggled out of Mexico. Intoxicated at a party one evening, the man reveals his secret strange feat to a beautiful woman who happens to be an editor from a great publishing house in a great tower. Immediately, she signs the man to a 3-book contract. Strange Feet, the authorized true story. More Strange Feet, the sequel. Toes Were the Days, a Strange Feet prequel. One book sells faster than the other, and soon the man's feet becomes the biggest attraction on Fox News and TV reality shows. Thousands of misfits swamp the network switchboards, all claiming the man is wearing their long-lost feet. So he stars in a series of national television commercials for corn plasters, for bunions, for Dr. Scholl's lifts. And eventually, a major motion picture is produced on the man's life. Starring Matt Damon as the right foot and Jamie Foxx as the left. And featuring a cameo appearance by the man's original former feet, The man has fast become an international celebrity. But soon, the man's famous feet become so swollen with their own success that they begin to ache morning, noon, and night. Day in, day out. These strange feet do their very, very, very best to remind the man of what a failure the rest of him is. Thank you. This is about a man who lives with a wheel. A man lived with a wheel, not because no one else would live with him, but that he preferred the wheel, as did the wheel him. The wheel had spokes, and the man had a chair. The man stared hard at one of the wheel's spokes, wondering to himself, is the spoke the past tense of speak? Does this mean the wheel had said something once, and every time it says something, it forms another spoke? The man said to the wheel,
If you ever spoke, speak now.
But the wheel was busy making a shadow, an elongated wheel with the aid of the morning sun. Seeing the shadow, the man asked,
Who is that with you? Is it your wife? Your son? Speak. Let your spokes betray you.
but the wheel rests quietly in its space, not answering. And so the man put the wheel to bed and poured tea through its axle hole. But one day the man would chop the wheel up and throw the mutilation into the fireplace. Watching it burn, the man hears a crackling and a hissing, which is almost like breathing. And if the man listens very carefully, the wheel is certainly whispering,